So I thought, let me start first with who I am, just in case some of you don't know. I've given quite a few lectures here at Munich, and I've always come in as Fashion Nerd. And Fashion Nerd is a platform that I created about 7 years ago. And the whole entire concept of Fashion Nerd was to translate technology in a fashion voice, help the fashion industry understand the role that innovation plays. But now I've come back as Shape Innovate, and Shape Innovate basically is focused on finding tech solutions. With Fashion Nerd, I was always focusing a lot on the problems, what the industry needs to change, what needs to happen. And I thought, do you know what? Maybe the reason why we're not moving fast enough is because we keep focusing on the problem and not on the solutions. So I started Shape Innovate, and Shape Innovate is basically providing the solutions of the problems that we already know about. I also contribute to Vogue Business, where I write about the merge of fashion with technology, and the Interline, where I do the same thing. I'm an associate lecturer at London College of Fashion, and my role there is to talk to students about innovation, especially material innovation, so they can understand the role that technology is probably going to play in their future careers. So like I mentioned at the beginning of my lecture, I'm going to be exploring the textile space. What should we expect in 2023? What are some of the new innovations that you need to know about in order to move forward, and what some companies are doing to make it easier for us to innovate? So as most of you know, the textile industry is quite traditional. You know, it's been doing business the way it's been doing it for quite a long time. And some people have found it to be not an industry that's very easy to change the way they do business. And I always say, if it took them X amount of years to get to where they are, it would take them X amount of years to correct how they do business. So, as you most likely know, a lot of things that are driving change at the moment is policy. They're putting legislations into place that will help the industry, or some might say shove the industry, in a different direction. I am a big fan of this, and I'll tell you why. I feel like we all need to have our nose pointed in the same direction. I think we need to stop self-regulating ourselves. We need to stop defining what sustainability is according to what you think it is, as opposed to what it really is. We need to stop greenwashing. So for the government to get involved, that will make it so the whole industry understands what it needs to do, and we're all working from the same page. So when I say decadence and more on decadence and more authenticity, basically what I'm talking about is that a lot of people are looking at more than just textile being beautiful or pretty. They're looking more at who makes it, what is it made out of, what can we do with this textile at the end of life. So a lot of the thoughts that are going into producing new fabrics are a little more future focused. When before, a lot of textile manufacturers did not really focus a lot on afterlife. What are we going to do? What would happen after this product has been sold? What can the consumer recycle it? What is it made out of? Do I need to put a digital passport so consumers can better understand what this textile is and how they can recycle it? Let me go back. Can you play this video for me, please?
The textile industry is going through a massive change. As the global demand for textiles keeps growing, there is an urgent need to develop more sustainable textiles. We Finns are known to change the world with our innovations. We are sustainable by nature. Today, our smart and sustainable next-generation textiles are on their way to revolutionize the whole industry. We don't believe in waste. Instead, we recycle, repurpose, and reuse. With our expertise, we turn wood and textile waste into next-generation fibers and extend the life cycle of existing textiles. We also replace plastic and toxic chemicals with safer, biodegradable alternatives. All this for the benefit of people, industries, and the environment. Nordshield responds to the environmental challenges within the textile industry by providing alternatives to the use of heavy metals in antimicrobial solutions. Their wood-based technology is biodegradable, efficient, and completely free of heavy metals. The main raw material comes from the side streams of the forest industry.
Antimicrobial solutions have been around for ages. The pandemic has obviously increased our awareness around the need for these solutions. So the next step is for us to move towards and implementing eco-friendly and sustainably produced antimicrobials.
Infinited Fibre Company creates premium textile fibres out of textile waste, providing a circular alternative to conventional materials like cotton, polyester and viscose that rely on limited virgin resources. The fibre looks and feels like cotton, and the potential applications for it are endless.
Circularity has to become a mainstream in the future, and that is what Infinity Fibre is all about. We are making this everyday reality.
So, why Finland? Finland is a bioeconomy superpower. We create world-changing textile innovations by combining nature, technology, and sustainability. With Finland leading the way, the world can take a course towards smart and sustainable textiles. We believe in world-changing ideas and turning them into global success stories. Finland works for us. Now let it work for you. Business Finland, World Ideas.
The reason why I included this video in my presentation, because I feel like there's a little race going on between countries. Each country is kind of putting their best foot forward about how we're going to innovate with materials, we're going to be recycling, creating new textiles, new fabrics. And Finland, Sweden, the Netherlands, Germany even, are really pushing forward about how they can innovate going forward. And I think this is a very good thing. When it comes to infinited fibre, which you saw was mentioned in this presentation, Kirsty, who was on the video, is actually going to be interviewed today on stage. And what she talks about in terms of recycling materials is like super mind-boggling, because it's kind of recycled. You always think the fabric is not going to be as good and so forth. But what they're doing, which is I always encourage when people talk about new materials, instead of looking at the material as it is today, think about its potential. And with recyclable materials, we all kind of remember them. Maybe if you're as old as me, you remember how bad they were. They're a bit scratchy, beigey, not really attractive. But if you look at them today, they're not so much different from our traditional materials. Granted, they're more sisters than twins, but the good thing is that they are quite durable, affordable, and also quite gentle on the skin, which is a good thing. One of the problems when it comes to new textiles, which I think 2023 we're going to see a major jump in that, is the scaling of textile technology. A lot of the ideas that I came across in the last 5 to 7 years have been lab-based ideas. They sound great, you know, when they tell you about, oh, we're making this out of mycelium, or we're using banana peel, you know, and it all sounds wonderful. But we never actually envision them being in an H&M or a Zara, you know, or any of the luxury brands using them, because it's an idea that needs people to invest in. So I predict in 2023, a lot of investment's going to come forward for this type of materials. And the reason why is most likely to do with legislation. They are realizing they've got 2 to 3 years to kind of get themselves sorted out and to make sure they're ticking all the right boxes. So a lot of fashion brands are scuttling about like chickens with headless chickens, not sure where they're going, and trying to invest in new technologies. So I kind of predict we're going to see a really big kind of jump in new technologies being supported by various industries. And I think, can we play this video?
Europe and the US are throwing out more than 20 million tons of textiles every year, and the problem is growing. But so is the opportunity for change. These textiles are incredible resources to feed textile-to-textile recycling processes and create a circular industry. To reclaim these resources, textiles must be sorted by fiber composition, and the demand for recycled content must increase. That's where the FiberSort comes in. The FiberSort is a revolutionary textile sorting machine that is changing the game. It sorts finished textile products by fiber type, automatically creating precise recycling feedstocks, and finally providing a practical solution to return textiles to the supply chain. But we're not quite there yet. We need your help to optimize this technology and increase the demand for recycled textiles. Are you a collector, sorter, brand, or recycler? Then join the frontrunners in the textiles revolution and help make the FiberSort a reality. Go to fibersort.eu.
I think these type of projects are really, really good, and I think they're going to increase, like I said, in 2023. But I think a lot of these particular type of problem solvers don't really focus on overproduction, which is something that I mentioned yesterday on a panel, was that it's all good that we're going to recycle this textile, but how about we stop overproducing in the first place? How about we concentrate a lot more on that side of things? Because a lot of fashion waste is, happening at the moment in all different countries, and we're so focused on new materials and wanting to create this new source, but we're not actually thinking about the traditional materials and all the stuff that we have and what we're going to do with that. What is the point of putting a Band-Aid using new materials when we need to still organize the fabric waste that we have at the moment? So, I mean, one of the solutions is recycling and sorting and whatnot. But when it comes to sorting, you saw that poor lady sorting it by hand. Can you imagine the amount of tons of fabric she has to go through to check? And this is where the digital passport comes into play. I know that the EU is trying to really push forward with this and make this a mandatory situation with the digital passport, but I think it's a really good idea. It helps us understand what our product is made of. Imagine getting your phone and scanning your dress in the shop, and it tells you exactly what it's made out of, and in simplified terms, not in terms that you don't understand, but so you can make a better decision. Imagine if you're a business and you get something secondhand, you're able to scan it, and then you got all the information about what the buttons are made of, the zips are made of, your stitching. There's so much going on in one outfit. It's not just the fabric. So digital passports are definitely going to be something that I think a lot of governments are going to look into investing in coming into the future. This is a video that I wanted to include because it kind of shows you how people are really kind of putting this best step forward when it comes to making new materials. And this particular material designer, I love their work. So I thought, let me share this so we can have a bit of a discussion about it. So if you don't mind playing the video. I think in 2023, we're going to see a really high demand for new materials. But my concern is that this part of the industry is not going to be ready to fill that demand. Imagine the entire high street shop saying, we want new materials and we want X amount. And they just are not able to do it because they're still in that process of developing it and making it possible for us to use it in real life, in consumer life. So the demand for these type of new materials, environmentally friendly materials, with less toxins and less chemicals is going to grow in 2023. But whether they're going to be able to satisfy that demand, that's where the problem is going to occur. Can you press play? Oh, no, it's that one.
These fibers are made from old clothes. It's part of a process that can turn nearly any used fabric into something brand new. And fashion retailer H&M bets this solution could eventually recycle some of the billions of tons of textile waste produced every year. But can a fast fashion company solve the problem it helped create? We went to Hong Kong and Sweden to find out. Most recycled textiles are turned into mattress stuffing or insulation. And the original materials are scraps from the factory floor, not used clothing. But this facility inside a Hong Kong shopping mall is the first in the world to turn used clothes into new clothes, all in one place. First, a technician like Emily Shao examines the garment.
So today we will recycle old garments.
This ozone chamber sanitizes the fabric in about an hour. Then, Emily removes the buttons, labels, and zippers, and cuts the garment so the fabric is easy to work with. The shredder strips the bits of cloth down further.
And then I will take off the open fabrics.
But this part of the process does require some new materials.
So we will add some virgin fibers into the yarns to make it stronger.
Another machine mixes that cotton with the recycled skirt. Emily then rolls the mixed fibers into clumps and feeds them into a machine that turns them into what's called a fiber web. But what happens next makes the assembly line in Hong Kong the first of its kind. The fiber web gets bundled into these snake-like slivers. The slivers are then spun into ply yarn, the building blocks of a new garment. Finally, a machine knits a new sweater based on a computer design. Shoppers pay about $65 to recycle clothing here.
How do we help consumers think about their clothes differently? Well, that's one of the reasons why we have a glass box doing research in a shopping mall.
The H&M Foundation partnered with the Hong Kong Research Institute of Textiles and Apparel. That investment allowed the company to license and install the technology at one of their stores in Stockholm, where the company is headquartered. H&M calls it the Loop. Here, shoppers pay only $18 to see the recycling process in action. That's about the price of a new pair of the brand's sweatpants.
That's how it comes out. And then this is the only part that has to be removed.
Virginia, the technician, trims the extra yarn and the garment is ready to go. It takes 3 days to recycle one garment. That seems like a lot of time and effort to turn a sweater into a new sweater. That's because a factory like this that can recycle thousands of tons of clothes a day doesn't exist yet. But H&M says that eventually this kind of technology could be a global solution for textile waste.
The holy grail is a garment-to-garment recycling. And that's for me where today most of our investment going to.
But the fashion retailer continues to grow by selling cheap clothes to more and more people.
How often do you go and buy new clothes?
Maybe one time a week.
How big is your wardrobe?
It's like maybe half of my apartment.
Well, retail kings and queens. She needs a walk-in closet, yes.
But Swedes aren't the biggest contributors to textile waste. The average American spends over $1,800 a year on new clothes and throws away 200 t-shirts worth of textiles every year. People didn't always treat clothing as disposable. Fast fashion really took off in the 1990s.
I'm going to stop it there because what I wanted you to see was how you recycle materials into a garment. I mean, how many of you think it's worth it? It takes so long. Do you think it's a worthwhile project? How many of you put your hands up? Okay. And how many of you think it's not worth it? Okay, so some of you do. Okay. I'm quite curious to find out why you don't think it's worth it. Would you like to the lady's coming with a microphone.
I don't think it's really still an industry problem. I think it's a consumer problem. And the industry problem for me is the staff. So a lot of companies, I used to work in places like ASOS, Boohoo, And a lot of the staff that they're recruiting are fresh from university. And really that's where the brains should be coming from, right? But then they're being pushed from top to bottom to kind of push more items rather than thinking a bit more about what they're actually buying. And you said the overbuying of overbuying of garments is the issue. And it's because people just aren't being taught how to actually buy. So, yeah. And
so you're saying the consumer is the one that is more responsible for the recycling side of it?
Well, it's the demand, right? So everybody says, Gen Z, they're going to change the world. But Gen Z are contributing 65% of this fast fashion market, basically.
So we need to change our mentality about how we shop in order for this to be
I think it's educating. I've worked in the industry for 13 years, and my mum doesn't have a clue, no matter how many times I tell her what I do, how I actually produce clothes. Okay. So if it takes 13 years to educate my mum, like, how is it educated?
I get that. It took me a few years to educate my mum into an iPhone. She was quite happy with her Nokia. But I think the lesson was that she got it in the end. No?
But did she? I don't know. Do they really get it in the end? I think we've been talking about this problem for a long time now, right?
We have been, and I think most of the problem has been a lot of the responsibility has been put on consumers. But I think consumers make decisions based on trends and what's in their wallet. And if brands were not producing the products, would we buy? Could there be nothing for us to buy? So I feel like brands have a responsibility as well with the recycling side of it, definitely, because they're the ones that create the product. So imagine if you take into account the textiles at the beginning of the designing point. Like you're thinking to yourself, okay, I want to create a dress. Okay, what kind of textiles should I use? Is this textile easily recyclable at the end of life? So a lot of designers don't think like that for some reason because they're taught not to. So it's super important, I personally think, for innovators to go into universities and teach the future designers about these type of problems. Recycling is not a solution.
Can I just ask you a question?
Go ahead, please.
What's your feelings on seasons at the moment? Because I think as an industry, we're actually overstepping a really serious issue. And it's the way we're treating seasons. We're still treating seasons as the old way, autumn, winter, spring, summer. And it actually doesn't get cold now until December, not January, but jackets are still being delivered and put into stores in September. Yes. So the way we buy, obviously the way the industry buys, it's, we pretty much, people like H&M are buying every 4 to 6 weeks. So we need this jacket in September, then we get in this jacket in October, but actually the jackets from September still haven't sold. So then we're becoming on the overpopulation situation, right, of the garment overpopulations.
I think the industry is run by traditionalists and not futurists. So if they're traditionalists, they're driven by profit. They answer to shareholders. So they don't care about the environment to the extent that it's not so visible to them what's going on. We talk about it, we show them, but if we walk out of this door today, we won't really have any idea because we're not feeling it. So I think as long as they put in profit first and it's run by traditionalists, who are not really seeing anything wrong with the business model that we're all kind of conforming to at the moment, it will continue. And this is why I think legislations are kind of important, because they are telling these traditionalists that this is, to hear no further, you are no longer allowed. This is the rules, this is what you have to follow, and that's it. And with regards to seasons, I think it's going to change. Because I think the next generation of designers are actually thinking of eliminating them. They're thinking maybe having these seasons, having these fashion shows is very elitist. And this is no longer the case. We're all about inclusion and whatnot. So when it comes to recycling, I think recycling is a great idea, but it's not the silver bullet. We shouldn't think to ourselves, we recycle, so the problem has been solved. No, it has not been solved. This is just one of the solutions that we need in order to solve this problem. But what other solutions can we rely on? So if we can play this video, it's more about data, which I think...
Europeans buy 5.4 million tons of clothing and household textiles every year, and nearly 70% of this ends up in landfill or incineration. In 2025, the separate collection of textile waste will be mandated across the EU. Unfortunately, the systems that we have in place to manage these materials simply can't handle it. That's a problem. And Texroad is the solution. The problem is really about data. Data is vital to the circular economy and innovation. So within the Accelerate Estonia program, Texroad is developing a digital infrastructure for the textile sector to make these data flows a reality. We're focused on 5 key questions. What are the materials resources? Where are they? How much is there? What's currently being done with them? And what could or should be done with them? The answers to these 5 questions have data that unlocks a long list of problems in the textile industry. My name is Tracy Kindon, and I've been working in textile since 2005. I lead a team of 5 incredible people who are collaborating across the textile value chain to make these data flows a reality and aggregate a single version of truth for the public sector, the private sector, and innovation. The result of this work is connected, data-driven policy, business decisions, and real, lasting change through innovation that will transform the textile sector. And we believe that is a vision worth fighting for.
I think when it comes to data, a lot of fashion businesses have no clue what to do with this information. They have it because we've given it to them freely for years. So they've got the information, they know what we like to wear, they know the sizes of the general population, they know the styles that are normally quite popular, but yet a lot of brands still do not refer to this data when it comes to producing their collections. And that's why they end up with a lot of overstock. It's a bit of a guessing game. And I feel like they've got the answers, but they don't look at them. So when it comes to data in general, I think it's something that a lot of brands need to focus on. And I can foresee a future where solutions such as this one over here is going to hold the hand of various fashion brands and show them how they can use data to make better business decisions and also kind of bring along that change. Again, I'm going to talk about legislation. And as some of you know, a lot has been going on for the last 2 years. So what I've done, I've created this video, and this video basically it shows you the 5 or 6 legislations that have started the conversations within brands. If we can press play. Sure, as most of you know, France is making everybody very nervous with all their legal laws that they're bringing into play at the moment. So basically, the textile industry is going to feel the pinch this season. They're going to really feel how the lawmakers are going to put laws in place that they need to comply to. And as most of you might know, it will take another 2 to 3 years for them to be able to kind of get everything in place. But the fact that the government is getting involved, and like Lisa Lang said yesterday, it's not that they want the textile industry to suffer, not at all, no. They want everybody to have their nose in the same direction, everyone to have a level playing field, and everybody to be able to take responsibility when it comes to what's going on with climate change and whatnot. And if the government, the only problem I have with legislation personally is that I think the textile industry needs to have a voice in the decisions that are made about policy. Because for me, it's like the decisions that are being made by somebody who might not understand the textile industry enough to make decisions for it. So I'm always about how can we bring some of the decision makers in this space to the discussion so they can also play a role in making sure that the kind of the legislation that's coming forward makes sense. So I'm a massive fan of it, but I think that's where they kind of need to play a role. And I'm happy to hear that if you do want to get involved, you can. You can just contact, if you want contact information for the EU, I'm happy to share that with you, because let your voice be heard. And if you're from the textile industry, from manufacturing, make sure you play a role in some of these legislations so they make sense. Can we play this video?
Our generation lives in a paradox. On one hand, we love to express our style and creativity online. On the other, we want to reduce all the production waste that has a negative impact on the environment. A paradox caused by the unwritten rule that we can't be seen online in the same outfit twice. So how do we secure a better future while maintaining our creative output online? With a digital clothing collection, a series of virtually fitted fashion items that you only wear in digital space. This is how it works. First, you take a picture. You choose a product from the web shop before a 3D tailor adjusts the product to your image. Now, your outfit is ready to be shared on social media. This is a new way of expressing our fashion creativity without leaving a negative footprint on the world.
Out of curiosity, how many of you would wear digital clothes? Okay. And how many of you will actually design digital clothes? No one? Curious. Digital clothes is something that has been slowly brewing, and I can see in 2023, as the world becomes a lot more digital, it becomes a bit more of a norm. And a lot of us are living in the virtual world. So, you think about Instagram, and like they showed over there, the gentleman wearing like a digital outfit. I mean, I've worn a digital outfit. I'm not exactly sold on it, but I can kind of see its potential. But when it comes to textiles, I know a lot of traditional textile people are very nervous at the idea of a digital fabric. I mean, how can I feel it, smell it, touch it? How will it move and so forth? So there's a lot of nervous people about it, but I really feel like this is something that's most likely going to exist right next to traditional fabrics. And I can see it in 2023 actually really taking off. So just to kind of bring it all to an end, I want to make sure that you all understand that when it comes to new textiles, it's great, and we should all find a way of investing and supporting, but also know that new textiles are not the silver bullet. Just because we are bringing forward new fabrics does not mean that the fight to change and to be environmentally responsible ends there. When it comes to innovation, I think that is something that everyone should be looking into and understanding, because at the end of the day, innovation is going to be something that makes the industry get to where it needs to get to. And that is it. Thank you very much.